Welcome everyone. I'd like to invite Andrew Bright from the Salvation Army up to lead us in prayer.
God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. Father, renew us with the strength of your spirit and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of the human person. Father, we also acknowledge today our community with the passing, this tragic passing of 3 young lives. Father, may we reach out to that family. May we support them with all that we can in this tragic time. We ask this in the name of Jesus, our Lord and Saviour. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that. Now, please stay standing for our waiata. Kia ora. Thank you. Please be seated. Alrighty, thank you and welcome everyone. Just in regard to protocol around masks, so if you're speaking, you don't need to have them on. So for those that, this will be a test. Depends whether you want to take your mask off and on much, whether we get much out of you today, councillors. Bit of fog going on there, Councillor Piddington as well. There's no winning, is there? Look, welcome today. I'd also like to acknowledge we're just about to have Jace up here from the DHB, and just like to acknowledge your subset of our community, been really tough for you in health, and just you know, our heart certainly goes out to those members of your team that have been affected by the tragedy last week. I'd also like to just briefly acknowledge the kaupaka Hare, who had his father pass last week. So I'd just like to acknowledge your loss, Bede, and also like to acknowledge the loss of previous councillor Ian Bowen, who I think most of us knew really well and had served a long time as a councillor, as deputy mayor. I think he'd been on the Timaru Borough. I'm always looking over here for Councillor O'Reilly. I've got to retrain myself. I think he'd served on the Timaru Borough Council as well. Also chair of Alpine Energy, and had given a lot to our community. So just really like to acknowledge the passing of Ian as well. And he had a tough gig at the end there. Did you want to add anything, Richard? You're more than welcome. No. Okay, thank you. So now I would like to invite Jason Power up to speak to us within the public forum. Thanks, Jace. And thanks, Andrew. Really appreciate that.
So, kia ora. Ko Tanau te waka, ko Taupuri te Manga, ko Waikato Toawa, ko Jason Tokingawa. Really thank you for your invite today. Really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about, I think it's a really important relationship between the DHB being a health service provider and our council. That is a really important relationship that we do need to ensure that builds and stronger. So, you know, just acknowledging our recent event, it has had a profound impact on our community and our staff. So just acknowledge that. So from a health system perspective, the things, I think we've got about 10 minutes. I'll just focus on some really key things that we're working on at the moment within our service. So obviously the COVID response over the last 18 months has been a significant event. A lot of planning, change in the way we deliver services, as you see as we go through levels of response to that, changes what we can and can't provide to our community. Our vaccination program, we've gone extremely well through that for our community. We're exceptionally pleased about how our community responded to that and coming to have that vaccination. We've got a bit of work to do about getting those numbers up, but we've passed about, I think we're at nearly close to 65 immunisations to date, which is a really, really pleasing result. As a DHB, I think we've delivered or been able to deliver some really our services to our community through those times. Our overall planned care, which is the old elective services, those targets have all been met and delivered our interventions through most of those, well, through all of those areas. Diagnostics, we do exceptionally well comparative to the rest of the country. Financially, we're still relatively sound and still one of the only ones in the country to break even, which is, well, health isn't about dollars. It certainly helps to be in a position where we can invest and grow our services, which we've done over the years. Obviously, staff in the health system is always a hot topic about how we deliver those services, recruit staff to a community. I think one of the advantages we have in doing that is where we live. We use that as quite a sales pitch to staff coming to our community, and we do very well. So while we have vacancies, I think as a community, we're able to serve them exceptionally well. Obviously, you hear nursing as pressure points and those types of things. We're no different than the rest of the country. And all we can do is keep focusing on how we recruit, retain, and it's most important. So, my personal philosophy is staff come first, and that creates an environment for how they treat members of our community and look after them. If we look after our staff well, then they'll treat and look after our community really well. So that's a fundamental point for me. So probably the big thing within the health system at the moment is the change into Health NZ. So that happens on the 1st of July next year. So without understanding how much detail you know, so DHBs are effectively disestablished on 30th of June. Health NZ is established on the 1st of July. That's a single entity in the country that will be responsible for delivering the health service. We'll have the Maori Health Authority working alongside that. And the Ministry of Health still has an overall governance role. So they remain as the overall stewards of the health system. So the Director General of Health still holds that responsibility. So as a local DHB, we still have working in that environment to make sure we have our community well served and prepping that for 30th of June. So one of our fundamental roles now is just ensuring that we transition through to Health NZ on the 1st of July, do everything we need to and can do to support that process, but leave a legacy for our community from a district health board perspective that they are well served, our systems and processes and healthcare systems set for that transition. Now, there's a lot of work to be done, and I think there's some advantages in that transition to Health NZ that will actually be a benefit for this community, and that's about how we just make sure we deliver on those from my perspective. Primary and community services, again, for our community, we are exceptionally well serviced in that space. And I mean that from our primary care providers, our pharmacies, into our community groups, community organisations, and NGO services. They're well set up. They deliver exceptional services to our community. I think we have the lucky privilege of being, even our rural communities, well served for our primary care network. And that's something we need to protect and look after for our rural communities into the future. But at the moment, they're doing a very good job in those rural areas, which is sometimes a luxury for DHBs. They are hard to staff areas, but we've been very lucky in that sense over many years, and we'll continue to do that. So I'm sorry, that's a really quick debrief. I think I had about 10 minutes. So I just wanted to leave some time for questions on where we're at. Happy to come back and do a more in-depth conversation with you. As I said at the opening, it's a very important relationship between us and the council about how we all serve our community. That's our roles, and interlinked heavily in aspects of that.
Now, question, Councillor Pinnington.
So I can get the mask off. Looking forward to Health New Zealand.
Yes.
Are you nervous about delivery of service and funding? I mean, we're one of the only DHBs, as you said, to break even. And are we retaining senior staff with all this turmoil heading forward?
Yeah.
Cheers.
So the answer is yes. How it's funded in the future, I can't comment on that, but I don't think we'll see a major impact from our senior staff. I mean, here, the environment shouldn't change. From a hospital network perspective, that environment will remain. So there will still be local management over that. So I don't suspect that should change. We're setting that up now. So hopefully we're providing a good, strong community environment at our DHB that they'll want to work in and want to stay in. And I believe that to be the case.
It was really quite helpful, Jason, what you've told us. That's really, really good. The vaccination numbers is 65%. Is that 1 or 2 jabs?
Oh, the 65,000's a total delivered. It's about 42,000 first, the balance being the second. So 60-odd thousand's a total number of vaccinations we've given, with I think it's just over 40,000 first dose, and the balance will be second. But what you'll do over the next 6 to 8 weeks, you'll see that gap close significantly as we go through the second dose. I think we delivered close to, over a 2-week period, nearly 10,000 over a 2-week period. So that second dose will come back in about 2 weeks' time.
So then percentages fully vaccinated in our district, we've got 55,000 people.
So eligible population, so it's only 12 and above. So of our eligible population, I think there's close to 50,000. So we're probably sitting around 80, just under 80% for first dose.
80%
for first dose.
Okay,
roughly. Trying to do those figures off the top of my head.
Yeah. No, that's quite good, isn't it? And are you striking now any pushback to people actually wanting to get it?
Look, at the end of the day, our role is to encourage our population to be immunised. It's about, you'll hear those messages, and they're absolutely right messages. It's about protecting everyone. It's about protecting your family, your kids, your whānau, your grandparents, your parents. So our message and our role is to give the right information, the appropriate information and correct information to our population to make an informed decision.
Yeah. And just another question, the hospital upgrade, how's that coming along?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, really good. So we're just obviously with COVID, we're just a wee bit behind on the front with the shutdown for the 4 weeks. So they're just cranking into that. So I think the total investment is just over 30 million. So the first stage is what you're seeing at the moment. The new CAF, outpatients and entrance. And the reason for the new CAF is we're freeing up space within the hospital for clinical areas. So we just had to push that out of what is otherwise course real estate in the hospital building. And then we have a new ATNR unit being built that will start in November. Then we're moving into scope, and then we're just going through the floors and upgrading each of those floors to try and modernise them. Obviously, we've got a pretty constrained brick building that you can't push wide, but so that's about a 3.5-year program.
And I guess going through the process, are you finding that you're actually getting escalations and things tending to blow out with inflation and pressure on people, getting the right people to do the job, etc.? Is that anything?
We haven't faced, so the projects we're currently building are within the budget or the contracted amount. We haven't had them blow out within the budget. I think the sector's facing, if you go into new builds at the moment, considerable cost increases through either materials or labour. But it's how you control that during the build's critical from my perspective. I mean, we just have to realise there is increasing cost because of those constraints within New Zealand at the moment. It's just how we do that and control it within the build.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Booth. And you think if we hit the 90% vaccination rate, we'll go Independent Republic of South Canterbury, Councillor Booth? Is that where you're heading, or? Councillor Booth.
So you said you're looking forward to Health NZ. And, do you have any reservations at all? I mean, you mentioned to Councillor Piddington there that you don't know how it's going to be funded. So you don't know whether you will lose your autonomy around financing and budgets, or
look, those decisions that yet to come out to us about the funding of it. So my role at the moment is just getting our DHB ready for the 1st of July, and they will come through once the transition unit Health NZ work through those processes. So I just focus on what we need to be focused on now, and that's getting our system ready, and how that plays out from 1st of July is we'll work through that. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have any visibility over the potential of economy of scales, meaning loss of jobs in the greater Canterbury area. I mean, because you've obviously qualified now the fact that you're looking forward to Health NZ being here, but there's lots more to that.
Oh, look, at the end of the day, it's Health NZ's coming.
Yeah.
So
you're just making the most of it.
Yeah, there's no point having a huge debate on it not coming because it's here. Yeah. So my role is, and the senior leaders is working to Health NZ.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burt. Councillor Wills.
Oh. Thank you for the update, Jason.
Councillor Burt, sorry, just jump out. Thank you.
Thank you for the update there, Jason. Just further to the upgrade, has that had an impact as far as the service delivery of any surgeries or any other deliverables along those lines?
No, the only impact we will have, but we're planning for this, is in December of this year, when part of the overall upgrade is moving away from our coal-fired boilers. So we're moving to air source heat pumps for 4 days during with a contingency day in December. We have to close out the theatres to switch over, but we're planning for that, and that's in December. COVID's our single biggest impact on our delivery of service. So from a facilities perspective, no.
So just further to the COVID part, in regards to the innovative ideas to capture the numbers and get the increase in the uptake of the vaccination process, has there been any innovative ideas compared to some of the other districts, regions throughout New Zealand that South Canterbury District Health Board may look at to encourage people to come forward?
Oh, look, we're looking at all options. I don't mean
buckets of KFC.
Yeah, no, so we'll look at all options. So our focus in the first period of that vaccination program is I'll call it the bulk approach. So as many opportunities for people to get vaccinated, and I mean that by how many appointments we can deliver each week. And we've had probably at the moment upwards of 5,000 to 7,000 available. Now that's as we're getting into that major proportion of the second dose. So the first program from March through to where we are now is making as many vaccinations appointments available as possible and growing our pharmacy and primary care network. So as we have put our system in, so we're delivering it, we're also planning for the longer term primary care and pharmacy delivery of the vaccination program. So we've built quite a large capacity in that framework now. So our focus will then become how do we get out and about more to give as many opportunities to our community to be vaccinated? So go out, not necessarily people coming to, and we're just looking at how we plan for that.
So you don't necessarily see a program being incentivised by having sort of offers of iPads or this other type of thing? No, but I'm just saying, making comparisons to some of the other districts. That's definitely not on the scale. We don't see a need for that moving forward.
Not at the moment. We're going through a targeted approach. Our Whenua Whānau Service has done a great job targeting as well. You'll see at the moment in workplaces, our primary care pharmacies are really looking at their registered populations, and then how do we support that overall program by getting more out into the community in the future.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Wills. Councillor Booth.
Just one final question. Just regarding New Health Authority and perhaps the potential to upset the balance between our professionals due to the private-public relationship. So we've got, obviously they've got, the professionals have got their own practice, and is there any potential there? Is that relationship still going to be able to be workable in a fashion that's going to encourage them to remain here in Timaru?
I believe yes. We have a strong working relationship with Bidwell and our surgeons in that space. I can't look at the point. I can't see that changing because it is a very important relationship. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Anything else? All happy out in the suburbs? Yeah. Cool. And nurses, any questions for your boss? Thanks, Josh. Really appreciate that.
Anytime.
Yeah, no worries. And yeah, and please pass on our regards to all your team.
Will do. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Alrighty, I did just neglect apologies. So we've got Wayne O'Donnell and Lloyd McMillan. Apologies. Was there any others? Sorry. Oh, Rowan Hessel. Yep. Thank you, Councillor Lyon. Are you happy to move those? Thank you. I'll second those. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And also, sorry, on Zoom, just like to welcome Janine, and I've also got Tawera there as well. I can see, I think that's it. So welcome team, thanks for tuning in. So move now to identification of urgent business. Councillor Puddington.
Hope you haven't fogged up. Yeah, Nigel, I'm keen to move item 13.3 out of public excluded into the public domain regarding the Theatre Royal and Heritage Facility Program. Do you want to hear why now or later?
No, I think we'll just deal with it now. Do you want to
yeah, look,
speak to it?
I guess last week it was reported how much money might be needed. I guess the only reason to keep it is commercial sensitivity, but any engineer or anyone within the trade will be able to pretty much guess roughly how much it's going to cost. I think there's some important messages there that we need to be transparent about. We had the group come to us. We've had some mixed messages about retaining or not retaining the front of the old Criterion Hotel. And I was elected for transparency, and I just don't see going forward why we're not letting the community now know what we're thinking. If I gave the example of the Christchurch Stadium, you know, the councillors decided to reduce the size, the public found out what they were doing, said, spend more money, let's do it. So timeframes are short, but I'd like to see it discussed in public. If you've got to withdraw the page of costings, I'm fine with that. But I think we need to let people know where we're going with the theatre. Cheers.
Okay, thanks, Stu. Any other councillors want to speak for or against? Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, I'm feel a bit like Stu. I just think that if it just comes out that we've made a resolution on the theatre without actually having some sort of something out in the public realm of how it was discussed and how we came to those decisions, we might be looking at being slightly secretive about where we're heading with it. So that's probably the reason why I feel that it would be good to get this. there's a bit of commercial sensitive there on probably price and stuff like that, but is that enough to overthrow actually bringing it out of public excluded? I'm not too sure.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Oliver. Councillor Lyon, I might just get a officer perspective on the commercial sensitivity as well. So, Councillor Lyon.
Thank you, Worship. Look, you know, we're still on the journey in a serious way with the Timaru project, and until we land some of the elements, you know, I think it's unfair to, you know, go out with the meal not quite prepared in a perfect way. And I think we need a little more time to knock the edges off some of the decisions that we need to make on behalf of our community. And I think the community will understand that we will need some time to do that. And at the appropriate time, I believe we will come out with options and places where the community can support and or get behind the suggestions that we make as a council. So the commercial sensitivity is important. And I think it's just at a stage where we just need a little more time as a council to work on the project. And then as soon as we can, naturally, we'll come out. But I think just now it's too soon. So I will not be supporting the changing of the status.
Thanks, Councillor Lyon. And I'll just, before I go to Councillor Bird, I'll just get Eric, to speak to that. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll just say from a council officer's perspective, I'm just advising the council the commercial sensitivity within those reports. I respect the fact that it is very public in nature and wanting to make sure we portray it transparently in what we're doing. Definitely respect that, and by all accounts want to ensure that occurs. But the commercial sensitivity within those reports, if they were released, could really severely impact our negotiations going forward, ensuring that we are actually getting the best price and the best outcome for the community. So I'm just portraying that perspective. Thanks, Eric. Councillor Burt and then Councillor Booth.
I do understand where both Councillor Piddington and Oliver are coming from, but it's still a journey, and to say that people can just throw some figures together because they're in that industry, I think it's not correct. We still don't know around where we're going to land in terms of having two different buildings or one contiguous building with the outside and things. We were elected in here to make some significantly hard decisions to get through all this stuff so that if we land it for our community and they know and understand that we go through a process, and with the undertaking of the commercial sensitivity in there, we've still got a long way to go before we've consulted with our public. They've given us an indication. No problems with a potential of saying there is potentially, because of the environment that we're in with COVID, with our supply chain disruption, that there's likely to be an increase. And you need context for that to continually remind people that the government has given nearly $12 million to be part of that. So it gives us some buffer in there. But I think in this case, we've got a long way to go. And there is another leg to this in terms of we have people who are at this stage looking at and wanting to know the scope of this enterprise we're undertaking with a view to doing construction across the road and what that's going to look like in a significant investment. And I think until we land that properly, there's too many ifs and buts in there, and we need to make those hard decisions as a council. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Booth. Councillor Booth.
Yeah, look, I guess it's always easy to be upfront with everyone and open and transparency. And while we do need to make hard decisions, I appreciate that. It's probably easier to bring everyone along on the journey while we're actually finding out ourselves to a degree. So it's like a no surprises basis. And so, so I guess that's all I've got to say about it. Yeah. Thank you.
So, sorry, before you, just a question around the sort of high level numbers and the concern around, Eric, we don't want to add costs to our build. That's.
Yeah, I guess it was done on a competitive basis, and no doubt the additional to the pricing will get the benefit of information, figure that out. So, it's obviously that's the options that we probably have to come down to yeah.
is going to make these public and the outcomes of perhaps could be so desired. So, you know, I'm just,
yeah, that's fine. Councillor Riley.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Yeah, for me, there's too many unknowns yet, even though this has been a journey that's been going on for 3 or 4 years or longer. I'm just not quite comfortable yet. I need to get some more questions and more answers going forward for me to be able to get it, you know, out to the wider public. I would like us to be just a wee bit more informed to continue with the process. Not slowing it down, not stopping it, but I think it's important that we get a bit more information.
Thanks. I'll just hear from the Chief Executive briefly, and then, sorry, that was you move there and get Councillor Oliver seconded. So we'll hear from the Chief Executive and then we'll put the motion to the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And just to sort of underscore what Eric said, is that the challenge we have in a very competitive environment is that while those square metre rates, et cetera, may be known and people can make educated and informed assessments, we do hold some commercially sensitive information, and once it's released, we can't recapture that, and our capacity and ability to negotiate in a very commercial way is at that point is impugned. And so there may well come a time from an officer's perspective where we would be quite comfortable releasing it, but while negotiations go on, it gives away, if you like, our competitive advantage about what the index pricing is. And we think that that's, in terms of negotiating the best possible outcome, we see that as quite important for us to be able to retain that information and have those commercial discussions prior to the release of information. I'll just add that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We hear from Councillor Piddington and then, go, Stu.
Yeah, look, I accept that to a certain level, but to start with, we told everyone it was 23 million. Then we told them there's 27. What I'm concerned around is the decisions. We had a group come to us and say, we want you to knock the back over. Now, we're hog-tied to tell them why we can or can't, unless we tell them something about the pricing, whatever way it is. And I just don't want to go through the decision-making process and come at the end and say, you didn't get that or you did get that. It's too late. So, you know, while we've been mandated to do something, I want to do it properly. I mean, last week I heard we're going to build it. Then at another time, we're going to dig out under the stage and put a pit lift in. It just doesn't make sense. So I want to make sure we build it now, we build it properly, and we take people on the journey. So that's where I'm at. Cheers.
Thanks, Councillor Piddington, Councillor Burt, and then we'll put the motion to the floor.
Yeah, just a quick qualification around Kawhakahari in terms of what you said about the commercial sensitivity and everything. If it was to release, I mean, is it likely to impact us in any way financially? I mean, fiscally responsibility is our bottom line on everything. And so, I mean, if there was even a slight hint that was going to in some way impact on it, because if that's the case, then, you know, that is the key to it. Other than that, you know, Councillor Piddington makes a very good argument, but I still think it's just a bit early in terms of there's a few things that we need to do, because there is a lot of, you know, ifs or buts, and I think that just leaves us open to more confusion and more discussion. And therefore, as Councillor Booth aptly said one day, you blink once and it can cost you a lot of money. So I still think those hard decisions in this council need to be made just for that reason, and not to stall it for too long, but you know, to get those things squared away. Thank you.
Thank you. And did you want that qualified? Did you?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Sorry. Thanks.
Yeah, just in response to that, the simple answer is yes, I think it would potentially have the ability to impact a good outcome.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I think what we can't do is discount a significant risk that it will do that. That's I guess our concern. And once it's gone, we can't recapture And if we knew, I guess we could give it with certainty. And I suppose we are conservative, officers are conservative in this space, but there is a risk that is, we think, significant that we can't mitigate in any other way, or that we can see can be mitigated in any other way.
Thank you. And just sorry, devil's advocate, just briefly, because I can see the technical data in this report. Is there any way we can pull this to bits and have a public and non-public meeting? It looks like it's going to be pretty hard. Yeah, probably not. I think I've answered my own question.
If I make a suggestion?
Yes.
That we do go into public excluded with the view that we together we make a decision on exactly, we come out with a message at the end of some sort, bearing in mind the numbers that will decide whether or not we get there or not, but to come out with a message. And that might be that that transparency around, hey, because of the environment we're in, this is what we're potentially looking at if we do all the must do's or want to have sort of thing. I'm not sure if that helps at all. So, Councillor Paddington.
So what we might do is we might put the motion to the floor, get an outcome, and then we can discuss that. So what I'll do now is put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, please say aye. Sorry, you might have to raise your hands. It's a bit hard. Yeah. Or. What are you going? You're making it, yeah. It's an interesting day, actually. Councillor Burt's quoting Councillor Booth, and okay, so and all those against, please raise your hand. Okay, motion carried. As far not sorry, motion not carried. Sorry. I might leave the mask on. Did you get that, Andrew? Sorry, note to you, Stephen, I know you're listening to conversation, but I think we would like from this, and we'll just clarify that at the end of any decisions made, probably some fairly good comms around process, and potentially even some debate. So let's just make sure we've got full and accurate record, and we can decide what we want to release as a group at the end. So comfortable with that? Thank you. So where do we get to? Any other identification of urgent business? No. None in nature? No. Conflicts of interest? Councillor Paddington. On their funding for stimulus, yeah. Got you all out, didn't we? Councillor Oliver. Combined. Yeah. Cool. Combined. Is it combined or turf trust? Is it? Is it just combined sports trust? Yeah. Combined sports trust. Jordan. Councillor O'Reilly. Okay. Right. Okay, cool. Let's move forward. Go back to there. Now we go to confirmation of minutes, 7.1. Can I move it for that? Councillor Gilchrist, thank you. Councillor Wills, all those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Go to 8.1, schedule of function. I was attended by the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and Councillors. I'm happy to move that. Councillor O'Reilly, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. 8.2, schedule of functions attended by the Kaupakahare. Councillor Oliver, thank you. Councillor Parker, thank you. Put the motion to the floor. Those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So first report is stimulus fund accountability. We'll go to page 22 and we welcome Eric.
I'll take the report as read. There's one note of an update. C-Play has come back to us and indicated they are not asking for an extension. They have spent the money as indicated. Sorry, I've got it. Yeah, thanks. C-Play is not looking for an extension. They have spent the money. They were just indicating that there is now a relationship with council and there's collaboration. They've updated their content to us saying the project is still ongoing, funds spent and invoices received, moving in the right direction as council is now a co-funder of the project with a joint steering committee set up to oversee the project. So that's the only update in that. Otherwise, this is coming back to you to indicate reporting back as we've asked, either 2 months post completion of the project or within 10 months of a project status to see where they're sitting at. And the full council was required or requested that any extensions be brought to this council committee.
Cool, thank you. What we might do as far as approving, we'll just go through one by one and then that gets around any conflicts. Any other questions before for Eric? What we might do is just move receiving and noting. Councillor Gilchrist, thank you. Councillor Burt, thank you. Just give me a nod. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And we'll just go through. So car clubs, all good. Lions Club, where are we?
So your worship, page 26 is the extension.
Thank you. Oh yeah, so there's the Fraser Park Community Trust. Just sing out if you have any debate, otherwise we'll just take it that you're comfortable with moving these. Can I have a mover for that one? Councillor Wills, thank you. Councillor Burt, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Timaru Projects Trust, obviously Councillor Raleigh's out. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Parker, Councillor Booth, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. All right. Next one, cycle trail. Just some bridges to finish. It's looking pretty good out there. Councillor Riley, Councillor Gilchrist. All those in favour, please say aye. Noted around C-Play, so we'll move forward. Tennis South Canterbury, that's Councillor Piddington's conflict. Councillor Burt, thank you. Councillor Oliver, thank you. Put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, please say aye. And then we've just got Geraldine Combined Sports, which Councillor Oliver had the conflict. Thank you, Councillor Wills. Councillor Burt, thank you. Put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. And welcome again. 9.2, Director and Trustee Appointment Committee membership.
Yep, I'll take the paper as read. This is a report to increase the size of the Director and Trustee Appointment Subcommittee from 3 to 4 members, and to provide the chair with the delegated authority to appoint a replacement member. It is just noting that this is a small size committee that is needing to respond in a quite an agile way. If a council member or committee member is on leave or not available, it can put that decision being delayed.
Yeah, cool. So any questions? So this just effectively allows me to appoint another person as in the committee is currently myself, Councillor Burt and Councillor Wills. Yeah, so everyone comfortable with that? Any further debate? Oh no, sorry, Councillor Booth.
Actually, I was going to ask a question just on the prior subject. Can I just?
Yeah, yes.
Around the stimulus funding, actually, how much money has been spent on of the 2 million? Did you have that in the report?
I would have to total it up, but I can get it to you.
It looks like a couple of 100,000.
It's more than that. Yeah, currently around it's about 500,000 around there. 500, 600,000. I'll get you the exact.
Yeah,
there's a couple big outstanding one, like Fraser Park Community Trust is 900.
It would have been good to be part of the
the report in there. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Booth. Thank you. Moving back to 9.2. Any further discussion? No, everyone's. Thank you, Councillor Barker. Councillor Gilchrist, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Moving now to 9.3, tenders and procurement committee delegations. Oh, yeah. So bring Nicole up.
I've got a question on this one.
I'll get speak to it and then we'll follow up with your question, Councillor Piddington. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. So the purpose here is that as we move through the Theatre Royal and Heritage, that there may be decisions that are required quite quickly and at relatively short notice, and they won't always align comfortably with council and or with committee meetings where they could just be slotted in. And so conscious of the public interest in this, we thought that one way to address it would be that where the issue of the Theatre Royal and the Heritage arose and it came to this committee, the delegation of this committee should be amended. Oh, sorry, I'm talking to the wrong one. I beg your pardon. I was talking to the tenders and procurement one, not the director and trustee appointment. That's all right. Yeah, it is that. Sorry, yeah, there is an oxygen issue, isn't there? The tenders, the purpose. The tenders, what it was thought that if it was then the delegation was amended that all councillors could attend, discuss, and vote, it would mean that there was no constraining by the full body of elected members to participate in the debate and the decisions, and that they could be held in public and so on. But it would just enable a more nimble response to issues as they arose, rather than try and create special meetings or fit them into the timetable that tended to exist for council and committee meetings. So that was the thinking, and we're putting that out for discussion. And happy to take questions.
Thank you. Councillor Piddington.
Thanks for that explanation, Pete. Just checking, when you say is signed except tenders and contracts exceeding 750, is there a maximum? Because I'm a bit nervous if you can accept them over 750, how big you can go. Or am I reading that wrong?
Up to 750.
Oh,
So who are you?
Part 2. In the bank.
Yeah, through your worship, it is exceeding 750. So the 750 delegation sits within council. So chief executive can sign those up.
So my question remains, what number? Because does it say up to? I don't see up to there. It just says exceeding for those that.
It's exceeding, so there's no max.
There's no max. I'm just asking, are we comfortable with no maximum?
So, I mean, the key thing it comes down to for quorum of, effectively comes down to quorum of tenders, really, isn't it? So that's your potential minimum, if you like. So quorum of tenders would be, I don't know, offhand.
Through your worship,
yes.
The delegation that we're asking here is no different than what the tenders and procurement committee currently have already. The only thing we're asking to change is having all councillors being able to be members. So it's the same delegation for over 750 for making decisions. There's no cap, and that's existing already, and that's already in place.
So, and I guess the other alternative would be to effectively have it go through full council, and would it's about being nimble, isn't it? At the end of the day, yeah, it's about being responsive. So how do we do that? And so quorum, though, for tenders, just so we're aware, would be Mark. Are you aware offhand? Sorry to put you on the spot. Tenders committee. There's only 2. Oh, of course, right. Yes. Yeah.
So at present, the tenders committee has a delegation to accept anything above, well, any amount that officers deem to bring. From time to time, do bring something less than 750 because of a particular purpose that they want to have it, but it can accept any amount. The reason that 750 is there is so long as it's budgeted for in the long term or annual plan, I have a delegation to award contracts up to 750. So something comes in for a roading contract at 550, I can already award it. If it comes in at 800, it goes to tenders. So that's why that 750 is there. Your question, I think, is are you comfortable with that? The Tenders and Procurement Committee already has a delegation to accept contracts of any size that come before it, and they come to council for ratification. Keeping in mind that those decisions would be there of the full, effectively the full elected body, although sitting as a committee, not as council.
But just for clarity, and I don't want to labour the point, you only need 2 people for the Tenders Committee anyway. Is that what Mark just said?
So it's 2 for every committee except council, which is fine.
That's the quorum, that's correct, yes.
So my question then is, so you're saying 1 person can decide it instead of 2?
No.
2 people.
Minimum of 2,
Okay.
and then it has to come through to council to be ratified.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and then so 2 and 5. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm comfortable with that. I just
no. I think no points. I think it's good to sweat that out. Councillor Lyon.
Thank you, Worship. Look, I think the recommendation is helpful to us all as a council, that we could potentially be involved in the decisions. I think it's a step forward rather than a step back for this project. So I certainly embrace the idea. I would have thought that if every councillor was potentially invited to go to a meeting that's called, isn't that better than 3 going or 2 going or whatever? I think it's applaudable.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a step in the right direction. Yeah. So any further discussion? Mover for that? Happy to move those? Yep. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Gilchrist. Motion to the floor. All those in favour, please say aye. Against. Carried. Cool. Now put forward TDHL Director Skills Matrix.
Again, I'll take this as read. Just key point to note on this skills matrix was reviewed by the subcommittee and is recommended to be approved by them for council.
Yep. Able to move that. Councillor Walls, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Burt, thank you. Further discussion? Questions? No. Put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, please say aye. Against. Carried. Thank you. 9.4, 9.5, CCO's reporting.
Yeah, again, I'll take this as read. This report is just for council to consider amending the delegations so that both Venture, Timaru, and Timaru District Holdings Limited report directly to council, where they currently report to the Commercial and Strategy Committee. And this is really coming out of one review and just recognizing the fact of the organizations that CCOs are growing and making decision-making efficient through the process.
Cool. I think everyone's probably comfortable with that. Yeah, no questions. I'm happy to move that. Seconder, thanks, Councillor Gilchrist. Further discussion? No. Put the motion to the floor. Those in favour, please say aye. Against. Carried. Move now to exclusion of the public. Councillor Oliver, Councillor Gilchrist, put the motion to the floor. All those in favour, please say aye. Against. Carried.